The big thing that came out this week that was wrestling related was The Ringer in distribution with Netflix. I have a 6-part documentary series called Mr. McMahon that goes into Mr. McMahon, Vince McMahon's career and life and history, and obviously all the current stuff that's gone on with him recently. The first time pretty much ever Vince has talked publicly about himself. So
Yeah.
uh I'll start with my general thoughts. My general thoughts is from what, and I'm glad Bill and David Shoemaker, I listened to their, their commentary on this. They said if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, pretty much like us, like you're not,
Hmm.
everything was you pretty much knew. There wasn't anything new or anything. And I understand that because you're on Netflix. There's people that are not as into wrestling as we are. So
Yeah.
you're like, oh, a lot of that stuff is new to people. I do think the things that stood out to me the most was, and Vince said this numerous times in the documentary, is that he is someone that has no regrets. And it's crazy because the thing that I'm a big fan of Owen Hart, and I like Owen Hart. Like I became a fan of him after the fact, obviously, because I started watching wrestling really around like '99. So
Hmm.
it was right. It was like summer '99. So it was like really right after Owen. Um, but through history and through the WWE Network, I've been able to go back and watch a lot of the old stuff. And man, Owen is amazing. Was amazing.
Yeah.
He was so good. And so to see those clips again, that they scrubbed off the, what's on the network, to see those clips again, because I've seen the actual like, original copy of it. To see Jeff Jarrett and Deborah cut a promo and to know the context that he was being carted behind as they were cutting that promo. Like Deborah starts that promo
Yeah.
and she sees in the corner of her eye Owen being carted. And Jeff sees her losing her composure in that moment and then picks up the promo. And then you see kind of Deborah kind of stand to the side. But like they both
Hmm.
saw it and they still got to cut a promo and then go out there and have that match. And then the way they showed that blood spat on the side of the ring and then how everybody had to just walk past it and look at it during the entire time that they had to go out there and continue the show. To say that, like, if it was me, I want them to go out there and finish the show. Bro, no one's finishing the show, bro.
Yeah.
And again, you have the luxury of 99 that, like, nobody has phones like that. There was one guy that had a phone. You could see it in that video clip, too. Sitting right behind JR at King. There's one guy, I think it was like a Spanish dude, a Latino dude. He was waving at the camera and he was like, Then at one point you see him on a phone in 99.
Hmm.
It's wild, because that you can't get away with that shit today. Can't
No,
get away with that.
that's yeah, and obvious like because it's still like the thing about wrestling is that it has the air of like kayfabe. The believe it, you have to get into the believability bubble before you actually start like caring about it and all this stuff. But like still in the sports aspect or sports entertainment, like we saw Damar Hamlin drop last year, and like you remember how I think it was Skip Bayless that like took a whole lot of heat because that same night he's texting or he's tweeting about, oh well, what are we gonna do about like the wild card seating or like whatever
Yeah.
the hell, like if they can't play, and it's like, dog, what are your priorities?
You're right.
What are your priorities? Because um that's not a all right. I'm glad that you pointed that out. That just the whole like Owen aspect of it, tragic event. Like, yeah, I had never seen that of like Deborah and Jeff Jarrett, But yeah, like you said, adding that context, it's like, holy shit, like there's no way that this show could have kept going. Like when you had one of your superstars, not even it doesn't matter, but anybody, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially like it'd be different if somebody had a heart attack backstage or something, something
Hmm.
natural. But like this was on the job for the job, and you still went on with the job. And it was just like, yo, that's like one of the most callous
Justified. Be
things. Like
like,
with
oh,
that.
like the lights were down, so nobody really saw it.
Yeah. That's crazy, bro.
And
And
again, to have no regrets, like the other thing that stood out to me was, and I've always wondered, and I don't know if I ever we got a full answer about this, but the Trish Stratus part of it,
mhm,
because I even as a kid, seeing her crawl around and all that stuff, I didn't even like that,
yeah,
and I was 10 years old. I was like, nah, bro, that is wild. And I've
mhm,
always wanted to know her opinion on that, and I'm sure, like she said, she gets that question asked to her all the time. I'm sure. I don't recall. I don't know if she ever gave like an actual opinion on it. It seems like she didn't like a lot of the stuff that she had to do.
yeah. I think she seemed like
I
for
think there's
that,
part of it that she knows that it's entertainment. Because
yeah,
I
because
did
she
like
seemed
when
very
she said
comfortable with the
Linda was like,
entertainment
"Yo,
part
you
of
should
it.
kiss me on the forehead," and that would get people real mad. I'm like, yeah, like
Hmm.
okay, I understand that's entertainment, but like to be like, "Yo, I want you to take your clothes off in front of all these people and crawl around and bark like a dog
Yeah,
on national television." Wild, wild.
yeah. And for me, another one was like, uh, I guess this was known just due to the dynamics of the character, but Shane McMahon just saying like the typical father son dynamic where it's like,
Yeah.
I just want to make you proud, you know? It was like, and then you also, with the context of it, you have Booker T and like Undertaker and literally everybody that they interviewed, Trish, everybody's
Mhm.
like, yeah, Shane was trying to prove something to his father. Like we all see it. Like,
Yeah, you could all
and
see
his
it.
dad, well, I mean, we don't know the family dynamics of it. So it's like for it to be real, you can say that like you can there's no way to see the wrestling characters for me as a kid and like understand that the real life Shane is like trying to do this to impress his father. Like
I think it's
to
the I
earn his
think from
place. You know what I
I
mean?
think before he I think up until Shane left the first time, yeah, you probably couldn't tell unless you were
Yeah.
there in the locker room. But I think once he left, I thought that was the first kind of like real like eye-opening thing that happened. Because I'm like,
Mhm.
man, you wouldn't think any McMahon would leave the family company.
Leave the business. Yeah, for what? This is it's $1 billion company. We got it
So like the
now.
fact that Shane was not associated with the WWE, that was an eye-opening thing. And then, to have him come back and things of that nature, it's
One of my favorite returns of all time.
Shane,
Like I
everybody
love
loves
it.
Shane, bro. Everybody loves Shane. Um the Shane stuff was also very enlightening. I agree with you on that. So overall, I thought the documentary was good. It was like, it went through a lot of depth, a lot of history, I would say. Not again, if you listen to wrestling podcasts like Bruce Pritchard and stuff like that, Bruce was on there. He didn't say anything
Yeah.
different that he didn't say on his podcast.
Yeah. This is all the same shit. Like have you been
It's
keeping
all the same shit.
yeah,
So,
keeping track.
if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, the biggest insights you will take from this is just the actual pe- people interview, and then obviously the Vince words. Those are the biggest things. The history is there, you know it. I honestly don't see why Vince, outside of just the principle and the legal ramifications of, you know, trying to get this movie taken down. But all of this is public information. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's been known.
what would you rate the movie, the documentary,
The doc.
out of 5?
It feels standard. I'd give that like if we're going off of classic Netflix rankings, that's like 3.5 out of 5.
I give it a 3.5
Like,
out of 5 as well.
yeah, because yeah, like you said, no super revelations for us. We knew all this stuff, but so that obviously takes the air out of it. Or there's all the shock factor is gone. There's no shock factor for me at all.
Yeah,
So, or for us. But yeah, still well put together and for it to like well paced, just to cover the time
yeah,
frame, obviously, from childhood and stuff. So that's what really got me through was like,
yeah,
all right, we're not belaboring the points of like shit that I already know. It was just like,
yeah.
all right, you pick a thing and it was like 20-25 minutes real world relation, and then it like segues into the next episode. So it was well constructed.
And all of the Vince interviews happened before the allegations came down, and they let you know that all
At
this
the beginning
happened.
and the end.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
tell you that none of every as soon as those allegations came down, he canceled all of his following interviews with
Mhm.
the documentary team. So everything that he says is before the allegations came through and he left WWE. So